people, Leslie. So just to tell you a wee bit about Leslie, he graduated from the Case Institute of Technology in Cleveland. It was the first engineering school to offer a degree in computer engineering. I just learned that today. Leslie spent his career in the military, and he described that in his earlier talk of my life as a spy. But he has wide-ranging interests, and here at Mirabella, Leslie's co-chaired the program committee, and he's an active member of the Lifelong Learning Committee. On reflection, Leslie now realizes that he was able to retire early at age 42, in part because of his own psychic ability. And he's here today to tell you how you too may develop such abilities. And that will be new for me too. So welcome, Leslie, it's all yours.
Hello, my name is Leslie Klein. This is my resident revelation. This is my life as a psychic. And today we're going to be talking about your inner voice, your instinct, your gut feeling. I am sure that everyone has such a sense. And in this way, we're going to be examining one's life, your life, from a different perspective. I gave a talk, as Carolyn mentioned, 2 years ago about my life as a spy, mainly in military, when I was working. And this lecture was met with great skepticism. And someone who has begged me to leave their name anonymous said, I knew James Bond, and Leslie, you're not James Bond. But I went through and explained how spying really worked. And I think it was pretty clear to everyone by the end of the lecture that basically spies work behind a desk and process intelligence. Well, now we're into stage 2 of my life from 1997 to the present. And we're going to start with what is the definition of psychic? Now, this comes from Deepak Chopra. Some of you may have seen him on PBS or read his books. And he views life in 2 categories, materialism and psychic ability. And materialism is the knowledge discoverable by your 5 senses: hearing, listening, smelling, tasting, and touching. It's the stuff of the world. And I'll be using materialism a lot to describe science. Science is a perfect example of materialism. And psychic is the knowledge that does not involve your 5 senses. It's the so-called 6th sense, and it's the non-stuff of the world. And there's a lot of misperceptions about psychic ability. Some people view that psychics have a lot of power. That's not true. It's like people who play music. There are a lot of great musicians who can't get a job doing music, and there are a lot of great psychics who can't use their psychic ability in a way that generates anything except self-satisfaction. And then there's the woo-woo factor. Anything that is not understood is perceived as being strange and not believable. And finally, some people think that psychic ability is magic, but magic is a materialistic effort that involves the deception of one of the 5 senses, mainly the seeing part of it. This is my definition of psychic ability. It's converting the invisible misspelled, there's a materialistic issue, into the visible, and the belief that all is possible. And this is me standing at the Discovery Rock at Canyon Ranch, and I will get back to this picture later on. I believe there are 3 psychic truths. Everybody watching this video, that means you, is psychic. However, most of you don't know this or don't believe it and know that you're not psychic. And in this way, you are destroying your inner voice and your psychic skills, or blocking it. And finally, if you will develop your psychic skills, this will make the final stage of your life here at Mirabella most exciting. Developing psychic skills, as you will discover, is not something that happens overnight to most of us. Now, here's the formal definitions of psychic ability. And this is really trying to take the psychic and make it materialistic. Relating to or denoting capabilities or phenomena that are inexplicable by natural laws. And the way these are addressed is in the terms of how one learns. One learns either by hearing. Most of us learn by hearing. Some of us learn by seeing, and maybe 20% learn by kinesthetic or feeling. So clairvoyance, hearing, ability to receive mental images, I guess that's seeing. Clairaudience is hearing. Clairsentience is the kinesthetic. And finally, claircognizant is everything else. But boy, this is really a complex definition of psychic ability, and in my mind, totally unnecessary. But before I go any further, it's time to enter my Wayback Machine and return to 1997. And this does lead to a couple of psychic questions. First, is the ability to move your body back into the past a psychic skill? No. The only way you're going to move your body back into the past is in H.G. Wells' time machines. Eventually, science will develop this, but this is not a psychic skill. But there is a related psychic skill, and that's called remote viewing, where you can move your mind into, let's say, a deep mountain nuclear factory in Iran, and you can see around, look around that factory and see what's going on. And this is known, again, as remote viewing. When I was in the military, this was a highly classified CIA and Russian project. Both countries were working to develop people who could do this so they could see inside each other's country what the satellites could not see. Now, in the news recently, if you looked, you would see that they seem to be having a problem in Iran. Their nuclear reactors are overheating and exploding. How does this happen? Well, the answer is a CIA agent using remote viewing goes with his mind into the bunker, and then using another psychic skill, the ability to move objects, flips a switch or pushes a button, and boom, something overheats and explodes. And someone said to me before I did this lecture, because you're psychic, Leslie, you know at all times where Janice is in Mirabella, so you can instantly call someone near her to talk to her. This is not remote viewing. This is another non-psychic skill. Sorry. So in 1997, I went to Canyon Ranch, in Tucson, Arizona, where much of my psychic development abilities took place. And I met a tarot card reader. This is a picture of her from the 1997, maybe early 2000s, Leslie Lupo. And this will tell you how your psychic development, this story will tell you how your psychic development happens. I noticed that she was offering a tarot card reading. I had never had a tarot card reading, and the only reason I even thought of having a tarot card reading is because her first name was Leslie, misspelled, of course. So I went to the tarot card reading, and this is what she told me. Now, how would you like, I heard someone had a tarot card reading and someone left the room crying and someone felt it was about a different person. How about this statement? This was what I was told in my first tarot card reading, is that I would experience a miracle in 6 months that would forever change my life. Who wouldn't want to have that? I was utterly amazed. And, whoops, I'm trying. Okay, I was utterly amazed, and I decided, oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. If I don't press the button, we don't get it. At this point in my life, I had no idea that spirituality or self-awareness, which is the philosophical area of psychic ability, I had no idea what that was, and I had no idea what being psychic meant. I was clueless. I was a materialistic person. My biggest concern in life is, would the rest of my life being involving just making one more dollar, something I was very good at. And I assumed this miracle would be generating a lot of dollars for me, like a lottery win or finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But I was wrong. Instead, I went to Half Price Books on Roosevelt Avenue. Those of you who lived in Seattle in 1997 may remember this place. I visited there many, many times, even before Trader Joe showed up next to it. And I found a book for $5, Become a Psychic. I was strolling in the psychics, in the spiritual section because of the reading. So I found a book that says, Become a Psychic in only 5 days. A little thin paperback book, maybe 50 pages. And I bought it, and I learned how to meditate, and my psychic adventure in my life began, and the year was 1997. Now, this is self-improvement time, and there are going to be several examples of this in the lecture. The goal of developing your psychic ability is to communicate with your inner voice and to make use of the information thus provided. Seems easy, right? Nope, it's not easy at all. So I would like, if anyone wishes to participate in this experiment, this is the first experiment in the book, and I still remember that. So imagine you're holding, let's start with the orange balloon there with a little string, and it's floating in the air in front of you, a nice helium balloon bouncing a little bit up and down. Can you visualize this orange balloon in your mind floating up and down? If you can you put the green balloon into your mind, and can you see the orange and the green balloon dancing up and down all the way to all 6 colors? Took me several days to achieve that, but when I had, I discovered I could now communicate with my inner voice, or my soul, or God, whatever you wish to call it. Okay, we're going to talk about the types of psychic abilities, because this is a class after all. There are 14 here. Does that mean there are only 14? Let's see, 1, 4. Does this mean there are only 14 psychic abilities in the universe? No, there are many, many, and many. In fact, if you look on the other side, you'll see that I didn't include H, remote viewing, which is a psychic ability. So they're divided in 2 categories, those that can predict the future and those that have to do with the here and now present. So let me quickly run through them. Astrology is about relationships of angles. It's a mathematic thing. Relationship of angles of planets, both real and imaginary, circling in the skies. And these relationships have to do with determining what is going to happen. It's a future predictor. Tarot cards, I remember when I was younger, I would flip tarot cards over, run to the book, open the book, read what that card meant. No, that's not psychic use of a tarot card. The true tarot card readers know what these mean, and they will tell you. Then palm reading. Can you see the lines in my hand? This is about looking at the lines in your hand and all over on this side. And they all have different meanings, and they can talk about your future. Crystals. Yes, we got the huge crystal balls, but crystals also are small quartz crystals on a string that you just flip back and forth, and it's a focus tool. Numerology, big in Asia. where the date of your birth and other things add up to numbers. The Kabbalah in Judaism is a numerology type of use of predicting the future. Clairvoyant is just knowing it. And handwriting. You can look at handwriting, and that can be used to predict your future. I've had all of these readings, by the way. They're all at Canyon Ranch. And one that was mentioned, number 8, not on the list, is tea leaf reading. Never had a tea leaf reading, though I've certainly tried to set it up and see what image I could see. Mediumship, talking to departed spirits, auras. Everyone has beautifully colored energy fields around their body, and there are people that can see these auras, and the way the colors work together tells them about their health. Moving objects. Yes, you can move an object along a table. You can make things appear and disappear. Who was talking to me about this? Natalie Siegel was talking to me about how something, a Zoom link had disappeared. This is an example of moving objects. It falls into this category. It had disappeared, and she said it was going to reappear sometime in the future. That's under letter C. And I had a nephew, my nephew Kevin. He was banned from the kitchen, the silverware drawer, because he would remove a knife or a fork or spoon, and he would bend them, but he never seemed to be able to unbend them. So the parents just would not allow him at that drawer. Creating the future. You don't have to be able to predict the future if you can create it, right? Feeling energy. The ability, there's all types of energy circulating around us. Some people can feel it. Medical intuitive, knowing what's wrong with people. And finally, past life memories. There's a theory that of reincarnation, that this is not the only life you're going to have. You've been alive before, you're going to be alive again. But there are people who can look at these past lives that you've had and tell you about them. No, a blank screen. What does that mean? Oh, it's time for a quiz. Okay, now this is a chance to test your psychic ability, your inner voice. Can you sense it, see it, or hear it? Remember, it could come in any 3 ways. I'm going to ask 3 questions. The answer is either true or it's false. F-A-L-S-E, I guess that's false. Do not spend even a second trying to think through the answer. It's either there, go with whatever your first thought is. Do not spend time on it, or your mind, who's very materialistic, will take over. So, first question. Psychics can read your mind. Everyone got their answer? Because if you're still thinking about it, you've spent too long on it. And the answer is false. Nobody can read your mind. Only material objects, like they have this whole things they put on your head, and they read the energy or the electromagnetic, whatever electric flow in your mind, and they, through a computer program, determine that certain things mean certain things. So yes, currently machines can read your mind, but psychics can't. The mind is yours. Just keep away from the machines. Second question, psychics can tell your future. True, false? It's true, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking and doing this lecture. And the final question is, psychics can talk with the dead. True, false? Well, I've told you, there are people that do mediumship. There are people that do. And so it's true. And believe it or not, this particular psychic skill has been scientifically demonstrated, and I'll talk about that when we get there. So this has been proven in the materialistic world. And all of this is designed to awaken your psychic powers through your inner voice. So 11 years go by, and my psychic abilities develop very slowly. So the first thing you have to do is believe you're psychic, because if your mind tells you you're not psychic, you're not psychic. You're blocked. I remember I've talked to some great psychics and their parents, and when they were children, they were seeing things, they were predicting things, they were talking with spirits. Maybe you've heard some of these stories from your grandchildren, and the parents said, no, you're not. It's all your imagination. Stop it. And it blocked them for 10 years. Second step, time to get out the books and read and practice. This is how I learned. And there are plenty of books on the internet. When you saw that list of 14 things, if one of those grabbed at you, that means your inner voice is communicating. Get a book on it and read it, because that's where your skill is. And then that's the last step, is you do need to discover what your unique skills are. So I wrote a book, and I can't keep it in the picture. So anyway, there's the book. There's the book on the screen. It's life purpose lesson-based approach to reaching enlightenment. It's through, you start in pre-kindergarten and you go all the way to 5 or 6 graduate PhD degrees. And this is how you learn, and this is a reincarnation theory. And the book's title is Spirituality in a Materialistic World. It was in the library once upon a time, but someone needed it. So it's no longer in the library, but it's in someone's room. And it's still available on Amazon. Okay, now this is an exercise that I do with people, especially at Canyon Ranch, but anyone who wants to see if they can create their future. So this is a create your future exercise. So what does that mean? Some of you don't have skills in this area. Some of you cannot create your future. That's okay. You'll see where my psychic skills on that list of 14 are. So what I need you to do, this is a simple exercise. I want you to think of something materialistic and simple that you desire to bring in your life today before you go to bed tonight. It can be as simple as having a bird. There are no birds in the courtyard, but having a bird land on your railing. It could be finding a coin the next, if you go out to walk around the building and finding a coin on the ground. It only has 2 rules. Psychic ability has rules. Believe it or not, there are rules in everything, aren't they? Rules are materialistic, but there are rules here too. You can't involve another person to obtain this, including yourself, and it has to be achievable today before you go to bed. So the practice is silently in your mind, think about what you desire to create as if you have it, like, I found a coin walking around Mirabella. And then think how you'll feel. I am really thrilled to have found a coin, proving that I have the ability to change my future. So we have quiz number 2. Ready? I think these are yes, no. Does one need to believe that they are psychic to be psychic? Yes, no. Yes. Whoops. Does one need, what are we doing here? Does one need to believe in a divine power, such as God, to be psychic? Are these answers coming up, I hope? I've got them buried underneath my thing. Yes. So this is one of these debatable ones. I am sure there are psychics who say they're agnostic. They don't believe in any power. They don't believe in God or anything, but they must believe in some force that is allowing them to be psychic. So it's a yes. And let's go to the next one. Does one need to practice their psychic skill to become better psychics? Yes. No. Unless you're a natural psychic, and I doubt there's one here at Mirabella. If there's a natural psychic at Mirabella, please come and talk to me and identify yourself. I know how to test true psychics from false psychics, and there are plenty of fakes in this field. So for the rest of us, such as me, this is something you must practice. Okay, here we are back in 2008. And I have listed my skills. I had very strong skills in what, in 2008, I called creating dollars out of nothing. It's really creating a future. And here's a psychic skill that's on the list, and I don't know what to call it. When people talk to me, and it happened today, I will hear in their voice something that presents a problem that they are having. And I will ask about those words and find out indeed there's a problem. And this problem may have been long existing. And I had much weaker skills in predicting the future and in past lives. I was able to come up with one past life about myself. And then in 2008, I discovered energy vortexes and that I could feel energy. So E. Now, so what do we got here? I've got some skill in D, and now I have just discovered in 2008 I can feel energy. Well, I'm back at Canyon Ranch, and well, let's sneak on the next slide and see if this story is told here. Oh, okay. So feeling energy is a psychic skill, but not a skill that normally one thinks is being psychic. But you don't need an instrument to feel the energy. You can feel it. And maybe it's a tingling in your hand. Maybe it's a buzzing in your head. I've talked to many people about energy vortexes, which generates electromagnetic energy, scientifically proven, and they can feel it. And my wife, Janice, can feel nothing. So it's not a skill that everyone has. Nobody has all these skills. You just have some of them. So here I am back in Canyon Ranch having a reading with Leslie Lupo. I tend to have readings with Leslie Lupo every time I go there. And she says, Leslie, have you felt the energy vortexes? And I could spend 45 and 50 minutes, if I ever do another Resident Revelation, talking about my work, original, but sadly unpublished work about energy vortexes on the planet. Energy vortexes are a natural phenomena, just like lightning, earthquakes, and volcanoes, except energy vortexes are areas where there's increased electromagnetic energy over that which is found everywhere on the planet, including right here at Mirabella in our rooms. So the vortex I discovered that I named the sanctuary vortex. And by the way, there's Sue Cagle. She spoke to us in May about healing touch. Some of you may remember. And she is standing at the center of this vortex, which I can place by going there and checking the energy flows. And when I step into the vortex, I feel one way. When I step away from the center of the vortex, it gets weaker. And so I can place center stones. And you can see there's one characteristic of an energy vortex, at least at Canyon Ranch, is they're clear spaces around them. They tend to kill plants. Higher electromagnetic energy is not healthy for cactus or weeds or anything. And I had Gary Schwartz, who talked to us in June, develop, and this did not happen overnight. This took about 5 years of constant begging him to do this. I had him prove he could feel the energy. And I said, he said, is this energy real or is it just in someone's imagination? I could scientifically demonstrate whether it's real or not, but that would take my time and I'm busier on other projects. So I convinced him. He found an instrument. He went standing where Sue Cagle is, and he was able to scientifically measure the increase in energy vortexes over an area, say about, you see that tall tree? That's out of, there's no energy there other than natural. So he went there and measured the energy, went to that stone, measured the energy, and it was higher. Then we come into another strange coincidences. When one is standing in a place, this is a scientific speculation, never proven until I proved it. When one is standing in an energy vortex or a place of increased electromagnetic energy and grounding, and this is another interesting factor, above your head right now are 50 hertz energy lights coming down from the ceiling and bombarding you. There's a great, that's just not healthy for you. These lights are not healthy. You're supposed to be outside in that dull sky. So when you get into the center of an energy vortex, you're grounded. It's part of the feature. And as a result, this then becomes the test. Does the psychic ability increase? And that has not been scientifically proven, but I have greater abilities at Canyon Ranch in all of my skills when I'm in the center of an energy vortex. Whoops, and energy vortexes are not swirling places of wind. It's more like Yellowstone, where there are geysers of water coming up. There are geysers of electromagnetic energy coming up. And where you see that cactus in the front of the picture is already out of the center, as well out of the energy radius of this small vortex. And they're small at Canyon Ranch. So I spent the next 7 years going around Canyon Ranch, finding vortexes, naming vortexes, writing a book on it. And so these are, I stopped at 18 because why do you need a 19th? I can't think of a good reason. So if you ever go to Canyon Ranch, you're not too far. You're never more than 100 feet away from a real energy vortex. And then I discovered another skill. I couldn't believe it. Mediumship, the ability to speak with the dead. Now, I've always had skills. When I go to a funeral, I can talk to the soul of the dead person who's died. And then I tell the relatives what the soul has to say. That's mediumship. And I don't know what to say. I can't do this outside of being at a funeral. I think the soul of or spirit of the dead person has to be very strongly positioned, and they are at a funeral. They're drawn there. And if you can let the tears disappear and clear your mind and silence your mind, you can talk with the departed person as well, or they'll come to you in dreams or whatever. So mediumship is the psychic ability of communicating with the spirits of the dead. So this was Gary Schwartz's first project. This book is still in print. You can order it on Amazon. And I don't know how many of you remember what was going on in 2002, but on TV, there were these mediums doing these shows, very famous mediums, and there would be a huge crowd. And then they would say, oh, I sense that Joe is present. Come, Joe. And then someone has a relative named Joe. And Gary Schwartz was wondering, is this real? Or is this all fake? And he decided to do a triple blind study, which I will briefly explain to you, with the ability to prove, are mediums really talking with the dead, or is it all fakery? Now, Harry Houdini was a big medium person. He believed in mediums, and he also believed in exposing fake mediums. And there were a lot of fake mediums in the 30s. And I think Sherlock Holmes, wasn't he into that stuff too? But he wasn't real. But so that was his goal. And what he did is he found two of his friends who had relatives who died that they wished to communicate with. And he developed a 40 or 20 or 40 question survey. And then he talked to those two people and had them write the answers to these questions. That would be pretty scientifically indicative that if a medium could get the answers to all those questions correctly, that the medium was really talking with the departed person, and that the departed person was still alive. Sounds pretty good, but it's a triple blind study. So that's blind one. Blind two is he put these questions, blank sheet, just the questions, into a piece of paper and had a graduate student who did not see, that wasn't present, had no idea who was involved, go to two mediums, and he did this test many times, but to two mediums, and gave them the two sheets. They read the questions, or maybe the graduate student read them and wrote down the answers that he received from the mediums. And then because he didn't want to grade them, he had another graduate student who had no connection with any of this write down the answers and grade them as being correct, partially correct, totally wrong. And he found that the best psychics had a 70% accuracy rate, which means that the mediums were really talking with the dead spirit. This is as close. And then he reproduced it, I don't know, 100 times with 100 different mediums. Some were total fakes and some were real. And that's if you want to read about it, if you still doubt this can't be scientifically real, there are people here that even when I say this will say, no, Leslie, this is not real. Well, read the book and read the science behind it. So, and Gary Schwartz in June talked to us about his materialistic soul phone. And he told us that it was a goal of developing a computer program that allows communication between spirit and humans. It's still there. They had the yes-no stuff pretty much at a very high accuracy level, above 70, but below 100. And he has a team of spirits helping him in this project. Tesla, not the car, Nikola, Albert Einstein, and there's Harry Houdini, and even Michael Jackson is helping, which I don't know. So anyway, Janice thinks that's funny, but this is what's going on, and he will come out next year with a lot of proof, scientific proof that this machine works by tests conducted by different people at different locations. So here's where I am. My goodness, we're almost done. Here's where I am today. I have very strong skills in creating my future consistently. I do have skills in finding solutions to other people's problems. I'm able to feel energy. And here's another one. This is I have a good touch with my inner voice. I suddenly get messages, pick up the phone and call Alaska Airlines. So what's that about? So I pick up the phone, I call Alaska Airlines, and I find out they've just changed my flight. They've canceled the one I was on, and they've given me another flight and given me a couple of days to decide if I want it or not. And this happens in many, many times. I have a weak but developing skill to talk with departing souls, but not to the level Gary Schwartz would call me unskilled. And I still have minor to no skills in predicting the future of other people or future events. So to answer the question, did I predict the presidency? Read number green. Minor to no skills in predicting the future of other people or other future events. And to show it here on this chart, I have weak skills in clairvoyancy, but that means I play with it, but I'm wrong more than I'm right. I have weak mediumship skills and in past life memories, and I have good skills in creating the future and feeling energy. And that means the rest of them that are blank, I have no skills in these. So if you want to know if I can tell whether you're sick or not or can read your palm, I'm sorry, I'm just not your person. So this is me measuring scientifically with a scientific instrument the vortex energy at the Discovery Vortex. On this planet, let me just back up a little bit. Energy vortexes are all over the planet. Some people say places like Stonehenge and the pyramids were developed because of the energy there. I've never been close enough to the center of Stonehenge to see if that's real. And I have been in Queenstown, New Zealand, that is said to be full of energy vortexes, and I felt the energy. I have been planning to go to Sedona, which is like Roswell, which is UFOs. Sedona is energy vortexes. They're big energy vortexes. I haven't been there. I was going to go there this year. Of course, Didn't get there this year because of COVID, but I'll get there when we are all cured of this plague. Can't predict when, have no predicting skills. And so this is me measuring the energy vortex, verifying Gary Schwartz's measurements, and I have independently measured, verified by Gary Schwartz, another energy vortex at Canyon Ranch is being real. So, psychic bottom line. Discovery of your abilities will help your life in so many ways. So if you want something new and fun to do during the day besides exercising or watching all these wonderful Zoom lectures we have, get out a book, look at the list. When the video comes out, look at the list and pick one of those. I don't know, did one of those, let's see if I can go back. Does one of these grab you? Just look at them. Look at all 7. Does one of these sound interesting to you? Something that maybe you sense with your inner voice that you have some skills in. If it does, get a book on it. There's mediumship, and there are books on every one of these 14 topics, including, and there's a 15th tea reading. There was another book that I did not pick up at Half Price Bookstore called 5 Days to Reading Tea Leaves Successfully, but I didn't do that. So, okay. So I see we have some chat questions. Let me stop the recording because I don't believe in recording questions.